Alright, on tonight's homework help, I'm going to be going over getting the hang of linear combination and elimination. It might be a little bit echoey because I'm recording at home, not recording at school. So tonight I'm going to be doing 5, 9, 10, and 11 for you. Alright, okay, so let's get to this. Alright, number 5. 5 says 2x plus 8y equals 36. And 2x minus 5y equals negative 3. All right, so on this one, we do not have a zero pair. So since we don't have a zero pair, we have to create one. Now, we see positive and negative here. So I could, if I wanted to, I could say like multiply this row by 5 and this row by 8, but that seems really complicated. It seems like it'd be easier to just multiply one of these by negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply the bottom row by negative 1. You could have just as easily multiplied the top row by negative 1. Since I didn't mess with the top row, I'm just going to move it right over. And now I'm going to distribute this negative 1 to every term in there. So negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. Negative 1 times negative 5y makes positive 5y. Negative 1 times negative 3 makes positive 3. Okay, now my x's zero out. 8 plus 5 is 13y. 36 plus 3 is 39. When I divide both sides by 13, I get y equals 3. Now that I know what y is, I can use that y value to figure out what x is. I had a lot of people today saying, well, which one do I substitute into? What do I do? We're doing the exact same things we did before. It's a little harder, though, because you don't have a slope-intercept form equation to choose from. You just have to pick one of them. I like to start with the first one and to substitute with the first one and check with the second one, but it doesn't matter which one you use. I'm going to use the first one because that's what I do. So I'm going to plug in the y. I know what x is, but I know that 8 is, positive 3. When I add that together, I should get 36. So 2x plus 24 is 36. When I subtract 24 from both sides, I get 2x equals 12. X equals 6. So if I'm right, y should be 3 and x should be 6. So 2 times 6 minus 5 times 3 should equal negative 3. 12 minus 15 does equal negative 3. So I'm right. That means my answer is 6, 3. Okay, here's number 5. Let's try number 9 now. Number 9. Okay, number 9 says 6x minus, y equals negative 43, and 6x minus 15y equals 27. Again, I could multiply this top row by negative 15, but that seems like a lot of work. Why don't I just multiply one of these two rows by negative 1 and flip the sign? Okay, so I'll just do the top one this time just to be different. Okay, so negative 1 times 6 is negative 6x. Negative 1 times negative 1y is positive 1y. Negative 1 times negative 43 is positive 43. And again, I didn't have to put the positive there. I kind of just did it on accident. Since I didn't mess with this line, I'm just going to move it straight over. 6x minus 15y equals 27. Okay, these zero out. 1 minus 15 is negative 14y. 43 plus 27 is 70. When I divide both sides by negative 14, I get y equals negative 5. If y is negative 5, I should be able to plug it into this one or this one, but I'm going to use the top one because that's what I do, and I should be able to figure out what x is. So 6 times x minus 1y, and I know that y is negative 5, and this is a place where you might make a mistake. That should equal 43. Negative 43. Now notice, I'm using the original equation. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I made a mistake when I distributed this negative 1, if I use the original equation they gave me, I'm going to catch that. I never use something I did math on to substitute or check or find another variable, because if I do that, any mistakes that I made are going to keep following me through. So I always go back to the originals. All right, so 6x minus 1y equals negative 43. 6x minus 1 times negative 5 should equal negative 43. 6x plus 5 equals negative 43. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. 6x equals negative 48. x should equal negative 8. So if I'm right, and I plug that in here, I should see that I get a true statement. So 6 times x, which is negative 8, minus 15 times y, which is negative 5, should equal 27. Well, 6 times negative 8 is negative 48. Negative 15 times 5 is 75. That should equal 27. Well, 75 minus 48, 27. That's 27. And that's correct. So my answer, remember I always start my ordered pair with the x and then the y. Even though I got the y first, I don't care about that. So x is negative 8, y is negative 5, and that is my ordered pair. Okay, now let's take a look at these word problems, because word problems are a little bit tricky. Okay, so I've had a lot of people asking me about this. Okay, so using our rulers, okay, our ruler strategy, what we're going to do is we're going to start by highlighting so we're going to read, and while we read, we're going to underline or highlight. You know, I like to highlight, so if you want to underline, that's totally fine as long as you're finding those important facts. So it says the sum of two numbers is 48. I'm going to actually highlight is too, because it is a math word. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there and immediately try to write what I see. Sum means plus, two numbers, I'm just going to say x and y, is means equals 48. Again, all I'm doing is I'm writing the words that I see, the math words down. It says when the smaller number is subtracted from the larger number, the difference is 12. Okay, so I don't know which one's the smaller number, but I'm just going to say when the smaller number, when I subtract the two numbers, it says the difference. Difference means the answer to a subtraction problem is 12. Well, that equation kind of wrote itself. This one almost wrote itself. There's a little bit of information missing. Now, here's how I know it's a system. What are the two numbers, right? They're asking me for both numbers. That means, number one, I know it's a system because I've got enough information to write two equations. But I also know it's a system because they're asking me to find two things. When they're asking me to find two things, I have to have two equations. If I need two equations to solve it, it's a system. Okay? So, I see the sum of two numbers. That means that plus actually goes right there in between them. So now I actually have a system written down. My system that I have is, this is number 10, x plus y equals 48, x minus y equals 12. Okay, well looky, I got a zero pair right there, so I am all ready to go. I'm sorry, how many x's? I got 2 x's equals 60. That means 1x equals 30. Okay, so I'm going to check the first equation. Now remember, I'm going to use what I started with, nothing that I changed. So I'm going to use x plus y equals 48. I know what x is, so I'm going to try to figure out what y is. Let me get this out of the way so we can just work on this. And then I'll bring it back up if we need to. Well, I know that x is 30. Okay, if I subtract 30 from both sides. Now the other reason I wanted to use this is because you notice anytime I see minus y, I kind of get a little leery. I want to stay away from that because what I tend to do is I forget that that's minus 1y, and then I forget that I got to divide by 1. So if you can use stuff with all plus or all positives, you want to do that because again, the less negatives we have, the less mistakes we make with signs. Okay, so we'll use the last one. So the last equation that I wrote was x minus y equals 12. So I'm going to use x minus y equals 12 to check it. Well, I think that x is 30, and I think that y is 18. And remember, because I just used x and y, since I didn't know which number was which, well, I know that 30 is the bigger number and 18 is the smaller number. Is 30 minus 18 12? Yeah, it sure is. So remember, word problem means word answer. So I'm not just going to write 30, 18 because that's not a word answer. If they give me a word problem, I have to give them a word answer. So my word answer is, it says, what are the two numbers? Well, the two numbers are 18 and 30. And that is my answer. Because again, word problem, word answer. All right, let's take a look at the last one I said I was going to do with you, number 11. And again, we're going to highlight, we're going to write down what we know. And again, even though like we didn't make a list, we actually listed what we knew up here. Okay, we didn't have anything to eliminate. We went right to, make sure to read the question, make sure we were asking it, and then we solved. Okay, a bank teller has a total of, a total of 124 bills. This is very much like the problem we did in class on Friday where I was talking to you about how much money I had. And they have $5 bills and $10 bills. The total value of the money is $840. How many $10 bills does she have? Now, they're only asking me for $10 bills, but I got to know how many $5 bills they have to figure out how many $10 bills they have. Because again, if I knew how many $5 bills they had, then I would be able to answer this without using a system, but I don't know either one of them. So I have to use that information. So when I organize these problems, let me tell you what I do. In this case, they gave me two totals. They said I had a total of $124 and a total of $840. So that means I had two answers. I had 124, which is bills. So like I had 124 pieces of paper money, and then I had $840, which is total money. Okay, so that means I have two equations. I need one that adds up to the number of bills and one that adds up to the number of money. Okay, most of you are probably going to, so I'm going to say like F is $5 bills and T is $10 bills. Well, if I add up my 5s and my 10s, I'm going to get 124. Well, if I want money, I need to turn those $5 bills, those pieces of paper money, I need to turn them into money. Well, how much is each $5 bill worth? It's worth $5. Plus, each $10 bill is worth $10. Okay? So a lot of times it helps, instead of starting with like what you're doing, sometimes it helps to start with where you're going to end up. I'm going to end up with $124 bills and $840. If I start with that, I know I need two things that add up to bills and two things that add up to the money. Because remember, I can't add chickens and get mangoes. I got to add the same kind of thing. Money plus money gives me money. Bills plus bills gives me bills. I can't add money plus money and get bills. It doesn't work that way. Okay? So now that I've got this system, I got to figure out how I'm going to solve it. So I'm going to leave this system written just like it is because I'm done with this word problem now, okay? I've rulersed my way into being done with this word problem, and I'm super stoked about that, okay? So now I'm going to actually start solving. So I have 124 equals F plus T. Now notice, since I'm using a T, I wrote my F and my T all super curly so I'd be able to see which one was which. Then I've got 840 equals 5F plus 10T. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out which one I want to eliminate first. Now, technically, all they want to know is how many $10 bills, whoops, the wrong side, how many $10 bills I have. But I want to find both so that I can check it. So it doesn't matter which one I start with. A lot of you are going to try to eliminate the 5s first so you can go right to having an answer. I'm still going to find the 5s, the 10s, and check because I like to be right. Again, remember, David, Molly, chocolate, being right. Those are the things that I love in that order. Okay? All right, so let's get to distributing. Since I want to eliminate the F's, the $5 bills, I'm going to multiply by -5 because that will create me a zero pair right here. I'll have -5F and +5F. Okay? Boy, I wish I had my calculator, but I guess I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way, which is I'm going to have to bust out the calculator app on my computer. I'm not proud of myself, okay? But there we go. Okay, all right, so I need 5 times 124 if this little thing ever comes up. 5 times 124 is 620. So when I rewrite this, that's going to be -620 because negative equals -5F minus 5T. Since I didn't mess with the second row, I have 840 equals 5F minus 10T. So I'm going to start combining. Well, I'm going to go ahead and zero that out right now because I know it zeros. -620 plus 840 is 220. -5 and -10 is -15T. So I need to divide both sides. That doesn't seem right, does it? Oh, I'm sorry. That's a positive T. Bad Maggie. That's 5T. Ooh! See? See how easy those mistakes creep up on us? All I did was just write that as a negative for no good reason. Okay? Whew, I'm really glad I caught that. Divided by 5 tells me that I have 44 $10 bills. Now, by the way, do you guys know how I knew something was wrong? The way I knew something was wrong was that if I divide 220 by negative 15, I don't care what I'm going to get, but what I know is my answer is going to be negative. That's how I knew right away that I was doing something wrong, because these are real world things. Does it make sense for me to have negative $10 bills? No, I knew right away that something was going wrong because my answer wasn't going to make sense. Okay, so I have 44 $10 bills, allegedly. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this first equation, and again, I'm going to look here at what I originally wrote. It says 124 equals F plus T. Well, I know that T is 44, so 124 equals F plus 44. Now, again, some of you may say, well, you already know there's 44 $10 bills. Why are you going on? Because I want to get the right answer. And the only way I can get the right answer is to figure out how many 5s and 10s I have and then check it. Also, what if you had eliminated the $10 bills first? Then you would get the answer for $10 bills and you might think you were done. And you better believe they're going to have the answer for $10 bills as an answer choice. That's another reason why I used F and T instead of X and Y. Okay? So, again, doesn't take much longer, but we like to be right. Okay? 124 minus 44 is 80. So I have $85 bills and 44 $10 bills. So this is where I'm going to check and make sure that I'm right. 840 should equal 5 times my 5s, which is 80, plus 10 times my 10s, which is 44. Well, let's look at that. So 80 times 5 is 400. 44 times 10 is 440. 400 plus 440 is 840. So I'm right. And then, so I know that I have 44 10s and 85s. And so I'm going to look at the question and answer what they're asking me. The last thing I do before I make my selection is I reread that question. I want to make sure I've got it right. How many $10 bills do I have? Well, she has 44 $10 bills. Okay, that's why the second to last, before we select, that we have to reread the question. We want to make sure that we're answering the right question. Okay, so we'll practice this more on Monday. Okay, y'all have a great weekend.